Thank you for watching our videos. This video is an overview of innocent spouse, separation of liability, and equitable relief. So let's start with innocent spouse. What is innocent spouse? Well, innocent spouse relief is a way to relieve one spouse from the additional tax owed if your spouse or former spouse improperly reported income or claimed deductions and credits they were not supposed to receive. There are 4 conditions you must meet to be eligible for innocent spouse relief, and the burden of proof falls on the taxpayer. The next few slides will review those requirements. The first condition is if you filed a joint return and it has an understatement of tax, it must be solely attributable to the taxpayer's spouse erroneous items. Erroneous items would be income received by a spouse but omitted from the tax return or deductions and credits they were not supposed to receive. Another condition that must be met for innocent spouse relief is you must prove at the time you signed the joint return you didn't know or had no reason to believe that the return had an underreporting of income. The third condition of innocent spouse relief is considering all the circumstances of why the liability occurred, that it would be unfair to hold you liable. Another condition is the taxpayer and their spouse or former spouse have not transferred any property to each other in a fraudulent manner. To have relief, all 4 conditions must be met. Next up is a separation of liability. So, what is separation of liability exactly? Well, separation of liability is basically how it sounds. A taxpayer is trying to relieve themselves of an understatement of tax that they were not responsible for, therefore separating themselves from being liable. The taxpayer must meet standards to qualify for separation of liability and have filed a joint return with their spouse. They must also meet one of the following. You are divorced or legally separated from the spouse you filed the joint return with. You are widowed. You have not lived in the same household with the spouse you have filed the joint return with for the last 12 consecutive months, ending when you filed for relief. You must not have knowledge of what caused the deficiency when you filed the joint tax return unless you signed the joint return under duress. You also have a burden of proof of several factors. Here is an IRS website we encourage you to look at to learn more about these factors. Next up is equitable relief. Now, equitable relief is the last option when a taxpayer is not eligible for innocent spouse or separation of liability. This is when the taxpayer shows that under the circumstances and facts, if it would be unfair to hold the taxpayer liable. Equitable relief has a long list of requirements to meet for qualifications. Here's another website to look at to see and read about these requirements. We appreciate you watching our videos. We encourage you to subscribe, like, share, and follow us for more videos about tax representation and more. Please follow the links provided throughout the videos. They are also in the description of this video post. WatchGuard Tax Services. Welcome to the solution.